Okay, I'm now going to go into the process of the competition so that that is clear to you as well. If you want to enter this, the first thing to do is to study the training material that we provide. There is training material on our website, and it goes through how to write a screenplay and all of this information as well. So watch the videos if you have access, or study the printed documents or the PDFs that are online. Then sit down and write the screenplay. You can't enter this competition without having an actual story written on the page. Now, how do you do that? The first thing to think about is what matters to you at the moment in your life. What issues are important? What do you feel quite strongly about? What do you actually want to speak about or share about in the world? Because this is an opportunity to share what's important to you. Once you've identified something, an issue that's important that you want in your story, think about who your target audience is. Who are you making this film for? Now, we can give you a clue there. We are targeting your school, your peers, your friends, teenagers, young adults, and your parents and grandparents and families, and that will also be interested in what you're doing. But think quite specifically. Is it maybe more for girls that you want to write, or for guys, or for, is there more of a niche audience that you're going for within that broader audience as well? Think about who you want the story to be told for. Now, I mentioned that you should identify an issue of importance to you. Yes, you do that, but it's very important that your story is not actually issue-driven. It needs to be character-driven. So the story needs to be about a person, about a character. You need to know the characters in your story. You need to have them fully formed and real people in your mind so that you can show them to your audience through your story. So make sure you know them and you think about each one, each key person that plays a part in the story. Who are they? What do they love in life? What drives them? What are they afraid of? What are they fighting for? What's working against them? What are their challenges? Think of those things and how the characters interact as well, the interplay, who influences whom. Okay, then you need to plan the structure of your story. Structure is very important. And you need to understand it. You need to be clever about how you present it and how you reveal information and the order in which you show events. So think about structure and outline the plot. The plot is the action things that happen, and the sequence in which they happen. Once you've thought about those things and you've maybe scribbled some notes and processed all of those things in your own mind, then start writing your first draft of the screenplay. And I suggest you just get that down as quickly as possible. Just sit down, give yourself an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, however long you want, and just put it down on paper. But it's really important that you don't just submit that first draft, because there's a lot more improvement that you could do if you relook it and you share it with people, get some feedback, and see what makes sense to them, see maybe where something's lacking, make some changes, and then rewrite it. So I strongly encourage you to write a second draft and maybe even a third draft before you actually submit your screenplay. We go into a lot more detail in the video how to write a screenplay, to tell you what must go in the screenplay, the dialogue, the words that people say, the information about what's happening around the characters and things like that. But you obviously need to understand that before you can write the screenplay. Okay, once you're ready and you're very settled with your story, type up your final draft, okay, so that you can submit the final, prepared, finished, carefully thought out story. Once you've done that, if we're having pitching in this year, then you need to prepare a 60-second pitch. The teachers could use the pitching process for oral tests or assessments within the classroom. If you want to have a selection process, maybe not everyone who writes a script gets to enter, you could choose the top 5 from your school or something like that. Then you could add the pitching process to your selection criteria. And so learners could prepare a 60-second pitch that they could do, an oral presentation they could do for the class that outlines their story and gets people excited or interested about about seeing the film or wanting it to be made. This is a really important process in the industry. In the film industry, you need to be able to verbally sell your story to someone, as well as having the written up script. So that's why we've included it, and we use it when we can. So teachers could do that, make use of the opportunity. The pitch should include the title of the film, a tagline or log line, which is basically a sentence that captures the kind of what's really exciting, interesting about the film. You see that often on DVD boxes and video stores. You can see the little sentence that they've put on there under the title that is supposed to hook your interest in the film. So you need the title, you need the log line, and the basic storyline, the outline of the story. Those things should be in the pitch. That could be presented to the class and be a very valuable experience. Also to get feedback and hear from people what interests them the most about your story if you want to make any further changes. Okay, once you've gone through the pitching process at your school, if you want to do that, then you can select the entries for your school to submit. Some years we have regional pitching where learners need to come to central venues and do their presentations to us, and they need to bring their screenplays with them and their release forms and entry forms so that they can hand them over immediately. Many years we just have to select straight from the screenplay. So once you've selected which entries to submit, you can just send the screenplay through to us either by fax or email or in the post. At our office, once we've received all the screenplays and the deadline is passed, we then read through all of them and we make our selection. If your script doesn't meet the criteria, if you've arranged or you want to film off the premises, or it just doesn't fit the theme at all, or it doesn't make any sense, there are lots of reasons why your script might not be chosen. It might be a very good script but not actually be suitable for the competition. So just remember that. But we will choose the ones that best suit Nab'Ubomi and what this project is all about, and make our selection and notify the schools and the learners who've written the stories. After selection, if you make it through and you get chosen, then you go into pre-production. During this time we will give you training. Sometimes there's a film camp, sometimes there's a 1 day of training, but basically we need to teach you a whole lot of stuff in order to help you prepare to make your film. You're going to need to choose a crew of learners to help you. It's usually between 5 and 8, maybe even 10 people who can be involved on the crew. And you will choose who those people are. You definitely need a producer, a camera person, a sound person, and we also have an art department person. You will end up having a script supervisor, a boom swinger, editor, various different things that you need to choose. Once you've got your learner crew, there will be about 5 of you that will be trained specifically on the film camp or on the training days. Once you've got your crew, you will then go into auditions and rehearsals. You will need to pick who's going to act in your film, and you will need to rehearse with them, choose the locations around your school where you're actually going to film. All these things we will actually teach you on film camp, or you will have a much better understanding from film camp or the training day, what's involved and how to prepare. Once you're fully ready and prepared for your filming, then we arrive to make the film with you, and we bring a mentor crew to help you produce the film, and our team will make sure that the filming is completed in 1 day and that you get as much exposure and experience as possible on that day. The learner crew will shadow the mentor crew, work very closely with them, so you don't need to worry about your ability or whether you're going to mess up or whatever. Don't worry, we're there to make sure that you do this properly and you end up making a really great little film. Some years we have a behind-the-scenes crew that will do some interviews and get some footage of the whole process. That can be used for television or for other broadcast platforms. We don't always do that, but that's a possibility. We try to have the first cut, which is the first edit of the film, ready as soon as possible after filming. And what we're aiming for from here on is to do the editing on the same day as the filming is happening, so that by the end of the day, the team that's made the film is able to see pretty much the whole film that you've made. You're able to see the first cut of that film and get a good idea for how it's looking. The final edit will happen back at the Nab'Ubomi studios. We might need to, we always need to do some cleanup, some add the score, the music, and add subtitles and things like that. That all happens back at our studios. After we've done that, we do school screenings when the films, all of the films are shown at the different schools that entered that year. And that then leads up to the awards event, which is hosted by the Department of Education. If there is not an awards event, then we present certificates and awards either at the school screenings themselves, or we send them to the schools later. And there is also always the opportunity of producing a TV series and the broadcast of these films on television and also online, and the DVDs that are produced. These are all ways in which the films are shared with the audience, with the public. We also send them to some film festivals, and you're welcome if you discover a film festival anywhere in the world that would take your film. You are welcome to send it off there and enter those competitions, and there are many, many out there that you could enter, and we will help you if we can to get your film out there. But you can work with us. We can't do all of it. Okay, from here I'm going to speak to you in another little video about how to write a screenplay. Make sure that you watch that as well. It's very important to understand how to put your story down onto the page in the format that makes sense to us. Best of luck.